Hey, so with Scream 6 having come out like a while ago now, I just thought I would make a little video talking about what I might like to see in Scream 7. Just a few ideas. Just by the way, some of these ideas are going to contradict each other, so don't get on my ass about like, well, how can you have this and this? Because that's not what the video's about. It's just a bit of speculation. It's just a few ideas I have, and I'm not necessarily saying I need and want every single one of these in the next Scream film, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so this is what I want to see in Scream 7. Let's get to it. The first one being actual stakes. My biggest problem with Scream 6 was that it felt like it was just full of characters with plot armor and that it didn't actually have any stakes. They would not kill off any of the main characters. It felt like they were holding back quite a bit, and it just felt like there were no real stakes. And I just thought that kind of sucked, especially when the last few films are also the Scream movies where we've gotten the, more deadly, dangerous Ghostface who is not afraid to like bring out the blood, kill a bunch of people in very much more brutal ways. But in Scream 6 anyway, it's also the film where they decide they don't want to kill everybody and they want to hold back on actual character deaths. Sure, they'll kill side characters, girlfriends of characters or whatever, just random people that we're not really that attached to. But in Scream 7, I want to see at least one of the main characters, established as that core 4 in Scream 5 and 6. I want to see one of them get killed brutally in some sort of way, and I know that they killed Dewey in Scream 5, okay? I'll give you that. That was definitely a kind of hard decision there, and I didn't like that. Funnily enough. I'm saying I want more of this, but I didn't like the example that was in Scream 5. I just want them to leave the legacy character alone, He after all that time, he survived only to be killed off. Like, I don't know, it just annoyed me. But anyway, but in Scream 7, I do want them to be able to make those hard decisions, and I do want that bit of heartbreak, to be honest. I'm okay with being a bit sad if a character dies. At least it means something. At least we're not getting Chad getting stabbed 27,000 times by 2 different ghost faces at once at the end of Scream 6, only to come out just fine. I mean, look, he is a Chad, he's built different, I get it, but come on, that was pretty ridiculous. In Scream 7, I want to see a bit more realism when it comes to what can kill you. The next thing that I want in Scream 7 is a real shock as to the identity of Ghostface. Who is Ghostface? I don't know yet, obviously. I don't even think the movie's been written yet, but I hope that when it's finally revealed, when I'm sitting there in the cinema, that I'm actually surprised and shocked, because the other biggest problem that I've had with Scream 6, and I've heard other people had with Scream 5, though I didn't personally, but I've heard a lot of people that had the same issue with Scream 6 as me, is that it was super predictable as to who the killer was. Yeah, so in Scream 7, I hope that it's either just like a shocking surprise, it's either maybe even one of the main characters or something like that, and that it's a character that means something, as in, like, it's not just some side character that we don't care about or have never, like, known before. It's kind of like the issue that I've had in Scream 2, like, forever, that nobody else ever really talks about, is that Mrs. Loomis, right? Like, she's not really a character. Not until the end. It's a bit like in the original Friday the 13th and with Pamela Voorhees, where that character's not really revealed until she's revealed, and then it's like meant to be shocking, but it's like, but who the fuck are you? Scream 2 does handle it a bit better as she is around playing a different character and whatever, but it still feels a bit like, okay, big deal that it's you. I don't know. I like the character motivation. They make up for it with a believable motivation and all that stuff, and she goes fucking nuts at the end of Scream 2. I enjoy that, but in Scream 7, I just hope that it's somebody a bit more impactful in my mind, and I hope that it's also not just a random family member that we never knew about. Like, I hope it's not a far distant cousin or something from Sam and Tara. I don't want it to be like another freaking family member twist like Scream 3, Scream 6, probably some of the other Screams. I don't know, I don't remember them all at this very moment, but I just hope it's not that kind of thing. It just feels like it's been done, and it feels kind of lazy and dumb, if I'm being honest. It just feels like, oh my god, my long lost brother? It feels like a soap opera at that point. And that's a criticism that I've read that some people have with the Scream series at this point moving forward, and with the last few films, where it is starting to feel a bit like a soap opera, much like the MCU. It's like Scream is now a film where you're expected to have seen all of the films prior. And from a fan point of view, I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing, because, we are going to be at the 7th point in this film series, and so I don't think it's too much to ask to at least be familiar with what's going on. But I do kind of get that feeling where it's like, it is starting to feel a bit like a soap opera, and some characters have had long lost brothers before, and all that kind of stuff. I just hope that Scream 7 comes off as a bit more grounded, and just exciting and good and stuff. Obviously, I want it to be good. Wow, hot take. I want Scream 7 to be good. Fuck. Anyway, either I want what I just said here, where it's a shock as to who Ghostface's identity is, or the other sort of possibility that I would like from Scream 7 is, instead of just kind of dropping the premise that they opened up with a bit of a tease in Scream 6, where you learn exactly who Ghostface is from the very start, I'd like them to follow through with that idea. Because I got kind of excited when they opened up Scream 6 and showed us just straight away who the villain was. I'm like, holy shit, is this actually going to be a different structured Scream film? A differently structured Scream film? Is this going to be like an Alfred Hitchcock suspense thing where we're like, we know who the killer is, but the characters don't? And so like, it's every scene where Ghostface isn't Ghostface, but is among the cast. It's like going to be super intense and stuff. Well, no, that's not what happened in Scream 6, as we know. That was kind of just a copycat Ghostface and got killed instantly. But I would like full-on movie with Scream 7, maybe, where we know who the killer is straight away. And I know that, you know, you can kind of argue back at this point by saying you can rewatch any of the Scream movies knowing who the killer is already, and kind of watch it at your own pace knowing who the killer is. But I would say that if you actually think about it, you know, if the film doesn't have to be secretive about the identity of Ghostface, it's going to be directed and written completely differently. And it's going to kind of play around with the tension as to who the actual Ghostface person is when they're among the rest of the characters and everything. And it could be a very exciting way to watch a Scream film from an audience perspective. I would fucking love it, I think. Maybe. Or maybe it would be terrible and a shit idea. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not the one making the films, okay? These are just some ideas. Another idea going along with that, though, as to who Ghostface actually is I would love to see multiple Ghostfaces. And I'm not explaining that well, I just realized, because pretty much every movie has at least 2 Ghostfaces. What I would like to see is competing Ghostfaces who are not on the same side, because these are freaking psychopaths that we're talking about. But every Scream so far, we've seen Ghostfaces, apart from the start of Scream 6, but every Scream apart from that, we've seen the Ghostfaces all working together, orchestrating some perfect sort of motivation and stuff, or defense, or whatever it is that they do. They are all working together, and sure, there's tension between them. They often kill the other Ghostface sometimes, or want to kill them, or anything like that. Sure, they're not always on the same side till the very bitter end, but I will say that I would like to see them competing from the very start, wanting to be the ones to kill Sam and Tara, because they want to be kind of the face of the next Stab film or something like that. Like, I think we've seen a few movies where it's come from like a director's point of view, where, you know, Richie from Scream 5 wanted to make the next Stab film. But I want to actually see it from an actor's point of view, where somebody wants to just be a star. Maybe you can like put in a bit of like themes as to like TikTok and other relevant things, where somebody just is, you know, wants to be a celebrity. They are hungry for stardom and all that kind of stuff. And maybe their whole motivation is basically that they just want to be the face of the next Stab film. And you can put a lot of commentary in here. You can put some true crime stuff in here. Maybe Chad starts a podcast or some shit like that in the next film. There's a lot of possibilities you can do here in regards to like being meta and everything like the Scream franchise is known for. But yeah, talking about things from more of an actor's point of view, or like a famous person's point of view, than like the creative director's point of view, if that makes any sense. Because I feel like that's what more people, realistically, that's what more people want, desire in their lives. A lot of people want to be rich and famous and stuff. They don't necessarily want to be creative and stuff. And then the other element to this multiple Ghostface premise would be that after all the clashing with different Ghostfaces, maybe killing each other along the way, which just sounds awesome, doesn't it? To watch a kill scene where both the characters are Ghostface and one comes out alive. But the other thing that would come along with this is that ultimately this would all be meanwhile Sam is kind of, you know, reaching closer to the dark side on all that stuff, and, you know, going in with her long lost father or whatever in Billy Loomis, and just, yeah, wanting to kill people, and eventually being the one who kills Tara in the end before any of the other Ghostfaces can. And it would be like this ironic, tragic ending where it turns out that Sam actually becomes the face of the next Stab film or something like that. Does that sound completely stupid? Maybe. I don't fucking know. You tell me. But I think that it should be. I think that it should be Sam who kills Tara. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just the films so far have gone so thoroughly into showing us that there is dark side. There are dark tendencies, Dexter style, in Sam Carpenter, and that she is headed in some sort of direction that we maybe don't want to see her go in, you know, from a like moral perspective. But from a fan perspective, I'm excited to see her kind of reach that dark side and do some bad shit, you know? Anyway, next up, what I want to see in Scream 7 is another fun like location gimmick. Maybe the next one can be set in a snowy area or something. They leave, they go to Canada or something, and they're in like a snowy cabin in the woods or something like that. Like, wouldn't that be awesome to see Ghostface in the snow and everything? I don't know, maybe it would be too impractical, but I always love a good kind of gimmick like that, and I always want to see more movies set in the snow. Like, there's this short of Friday the 13th called Never Hike in the Snow Alone, I believe it's called that, and that's just like, it's clearly a low budget film, and it's like a fan film and whatever, but it's done so well, and just seeing Jason Voorhees in the snow, it just changes the elements entirely, and it just makes everything kind of exciting. And snow is pretty and stuff. I don't know, I've never been to the snow. I'm Australian, it doesn't really snow here. Anyway, but I would love to see some sort of fun location gimmick. Maybe a set piece could be set in like Legoland or some shit. You know, really make use of the location in some sort of way. It could just be set in some sort of, you know, area like that where there's gonna be a bunch of unique weapons, unique ways to kill people and everything. It could be exciting and fun, and I'd like to see them make use of the gimmick and location, because another thing that a lot of people complained about with Scream 6 is that they didn't really utilize New York all that well. I'm not sure I necessarily agree, because they did have the New York subway scene, they did have the like apartment going across the ladder scene, and they did have the convenience store scene. Maybe they could have had some sort of giant scene set in Times Square or some shit and all that sort of stuff, but maybe that would have felt kind of tacky. I'm not exactly sure, but I hope Scream 7 utilizes their kind of premise and gimmick and location in some sort of great way. Maybe Ghostface should go to space, you know? Maybe, I mean, we already copied Jason Takes Manhattan, Ghostface Takes Manhattan in Scream 6. Maybe we should do Ghostface X. Should we? I think we should. And the final thing that I've got written down over here that I want to see in Scream 7, and I get it, this is ultimate fanboy moment here, okay? And I know that this is probably not going to happen, but come on, let's bring Stu back. You know, let's have Stu's return come back for Scream 7. He didn't die with the TV somehow, and he's good to go. And he's the next Ghostface or something like that. Or maybe he wants to redeem himself. I would actually fucking weirdly love that. Maybe he like escaped and changed his identity or some shit over the years, and now he's returning because, I don't know, he feels like he needs to help or something. And he redeems himself and becomes a good character. Oh my god, that's just super fanboy shit. This is never gonna happen. But a part of me wants it to, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's a lame idea, but anyway, I just want Stu to come back in some form, in some way. Maybe they could even kind of like, you know, do it in a half-assed way where they don't really commit to it, like they did in Scream 3 with Randy showing up in just a tape, but he doesn't actually show up because he's dead. Maybe they could do some sort of thing like that. They find a lost tape with Stu or something, you know, planning everything with Billy or something like that. I don't know. Just in some way, I would like to see Stu come back. And I also do want to say, just akin to this, that I want them to leave the legacy characters alone at this point, apart from Stu now. Maybe they can just briefly show Gale or something, or just explain what happened with her, because the ending of her story in Scream 6 was a bit weird. She got stabbed, presumably died, but then was just fine, and then we never actually see her again. We never actually see that confirmation, we're just told it, and I thought that was a weird way to end that. Like, we never see her again. I thought it was odd. Maybe it would be nice to just see that she's doing well or some shit, but then just move on from her, and don't mention Sidney at all. I know that that's maybe a hot take. A lot of people were fucking pissed when it was announced that Neve Campbell would not be returning for Scream 6, because she is Scream, apparently, according to a lot of people. I would argue that, yeah, she's a great character, but you don't necessarily need her for a Scream film, and it's, you know, Scream 7 was still good without her. I did also like the scene in Scream 6, sorry. I did also like the scene in Scream 6 where they had to have Gale Weathers kind of explaining the absence of Sidney, just straight to the audience, so we could, like, not complain. I did enjoy that little moment there. It was, kind of silly. But yeah, I would say just leave the legacy characters alone at this point, okay? Let them have their happy ending. Let us imagine where they go on from here, and just don't bring him in, because if you bring him in, they're probably going to kill him. Let's be honest. That's what happened with Dewey. Just leave him alone, except for Stu. Bring Stu back, even though it makes no sense, because he clearly is a dead person. But I don't know. Craziest shit has happened in slasher movies before, right? We can make it happen. Anyway, so that's all that I've got written down at the moment anyway. I'm sure there's a lot more if I actually thought about it from what I want to see from Scream 7. But anyway, I'm going to leave it to you now in the comments and all that shit. Let me know what you want to see in Scream Scream 7, and let's geek out about Scream and all that stuff. But that's all that I gotta say for now. Before you go, please do that thing. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that shit, and I'm outie. Goodbye.